Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome here to our fourth TECspertZ episode as we are talking about ECU baseball and a sports recap. I am Anthony. I do a show Inside the Lines, 11 a.m. to 12 noon. On Mondays and Fridays, you can tune in and see me there. To my right, we have...
I'm Daniel Shepard. I'm the sports chief at the East Carolinian. You can find our papers Tuesdays and Thursdays around campus, or you can read our work online.
I'm Eric Fisher. I have a show on WZMB as well, and it's called Buzzer Beater on Mondays and Wednesdays, and it's where we cover NBA basketball, college basketball, and ECU sports as well.
And I'm Jess Sabin. I'm a sports reporter for the East Carolinian, and I cover football and baseball.
So let's get right on into it, shall we? Do a little recap of the 17th annual Keith LeClaire Classic that occurred this past weekend. We were all dead wrong on our predictions, as you and I said that we had a sweep in mind. That did not happen. You two gentlemen said we would win at least 2 out of 3. None of the such occurred. We ended up winning only 1 out of the 3 games, unfortunately, as we dropped the first game to Indiana, the second one to Ole Miss. Luckily able to salvage a win, third game against High Point, 13-1 victory. Let's get right on to it. Let's talk about Indiana, the first game, Friday night game. And you know what? They came in here and kind of popped us in the mouth. 11-5 final it was, and just a rough go for the Pirates on Friday.
Yeah, Cliff Godwin said after the game that Alec Burleson, the starter on Friday night, just really ran out of gas. He pitched 8 innings in a doubleheader the previous weekend. So he goes 2 2/3, give up 6 runs, I believe, a career high in that respect. Offense just never really got going. Got to within 2 there in the middle innings. Burleson struck out with the bases loaded, and Godwin got ejected. Wasn't too happy with the strike zone that night, but that's just kind of the way it goes over the course of a long season. And Indiana's a quality opponent, let's face it, and just not an ideal way to start the weekend.
Yeah, I feel like this game was also a good wake-up call for the Pirates as well. Just kind of it was, I would say, one of their better opponents so far in the season at the time. And it really, I feel like they went in not focusing on that game, really looking ahead to Ole Miss. And it really just kind of shocked them. And Indiana played great, but I mean, it wasn't all terrible for the Pirates. It wasn't. I mean, it was just a bad game overall, but they still put up a decent amount of runs in the game as it ended against Ole Miss. But I mean, it just wasn't. It wasn't there for the Pirates on Friday.
Going into that game, Indiana was one of the hottest teams in the country. They had won a bunch of games just going into this weekend here, and they were able to continue that against us. You know, ECU batters were struck out 13 times. Nothing could get going on offense. And, you know, when Alec Burleson, has to be pulled in under 3 innings there, giving up a career high in runs rather. It just, I don't know how a team can really overcome that. And we weren't able to. We were able to pull it close, but it was too little too late.
So we dropped the first game against Indiana, and I think that we were scouting a little bit too far ahead into Ole Miss being the big matchup of the weekend, and we ended up, losing against Indiana here. So then we flip the page here. We go to Saturday, a really good crowd at Clark LeClaire, I believe, 4,928 fans to be exact, the 14th largest crowd here that we've ever had at Clark LeClaire. A big environment showed up. It was kind of like as if we were at the regional. And we lose a tough one there, a nail-biter, 2-1, pitching duel. Really, again, the bats did not get going in that one either.
Yeah, 14 strikeouts for ECU that game, but, Gunnar Hoagland, the Ole Miss starter, former first-round pick of the Pittsburgh Pirates in 2018. So you knew kind of going in he's a really talented right-handed pitcher. Struck out 8 over 6 innings, 1 earned run. Just really kept ECU off balance all night long, and then their bullpen just the final 3 innings. But, something can be said for ECU's bullpen. Tyler Smith only went 3 2/3 in the start. C.J. Mayhew comes in, goes 3 1/3, and strikes out 6. So he's really emerged. Him and Tyler Bridges really kept the game close late. But
Matt Bridges.
Yep, you're good. Bridges. And ECU could just never really get the offense going.
Yeah, I feel like one thing, though, the bright spot for the Pirates was definitely the relief in defense. It really helped them out. And it did show that they can compete against good teams. But, yeah, I mean, it was just I feel like going up against an elite team in the nation in Ole Miss, and they've been, as you said, like Indiana, they're one of the hotter teams in the nation. And, I mean, the Pirates' bats couldn't get going. But eventually they did explode in the next game. But it was still a really good game from C.J. Mayhew and the other pitchers in that game.
I mean, they say defense wins championships, but if the offense can't get going, it doesn't matter how good your defense is, and that showed. I mean, 2-1, that's not a lot of scoring going on for either teams, but 2 is more than 1. I feel like that's fairly obvious, but, if the bats can't get going there, great job defensively. The pitching for both teams was really, really good. But like in the first game, too little, too late. Bats couldn't get going. No one was getting on base there. It's just, a rough start to the Keith LeClaire Classic for ECU.
Against Ole Miss, you talk about defense. They actually had a few errors in the first couple innings, I believe, that gave us a few opportunities right out of the get-go. Nothing ended up working out in that situation, but we dropped the game there. A top 20 matchup against Ole Miss. Again, tight game, close one. So we dropped the first 2 games of the Keith LeClaire Classic. Then moving on to Sunday, the Bats explode. 13-1 victory here, and 2 home runs out of Bryson Worrell, a home run from Alec Burleson, first of this year for him, and that was a big monkey off his back as well, and just a great job overall. Pitching staff and the Bats, again, just exploded.
Right. Even going back to the Indiana-Ole Miss game, the 11 o'clock game on that Sunday, the wind really turned around, and Ole Miss's head coach, and just a better game to hit overall, and even Worrell said it after his 2-homer game, which is a new career high for him. He's never hit 2 in a game before. So it's just good. ECU racked up 13 hits that game, really pounded high points. Starters, relievers, didn't really matter who was on the mound. They were just singles all over the place, 3 extra base hits after having none for the previous 2 games of the weekend, or 4 extra base hits, 3 homers and a double after having none previous 2 games over the weekend. So just a really good confidence win there to end the weekend and heading into this week.
Yeah, I think another really bright spot was Jay Kuchmaner, who's now 3-0 in the season, and he had 5 scoreless innings. And, I mean, that's really a good bright spot, but definitely the Bats is what really pushed ECU to this win. And there's a lot of frustration over the past couple of games, not really getting going, and then, as you said, a little too late in the Indiana game especially. But this game, they wasted no time and got off to a quick start and never looked back.
Yeah, that big 5-run outburst they had there in the 3rd inning, that really propelled them forward and pretty much sealed it all up right there. Anytime you can win a baseball game by 12, I think that's a really good statement win right there. And ending their weekend off with a win after, starting off really disappointingly. That's got to be good for them going into this upcoming week.
Definitely. And now, as of the date of this recording, March 3rd, a Tuesday, we have a game tomorrow, a matchup against the Liberty Flames right here at Clark LeClaire Stadium. So be sure to go out and support your Pirates as we are trying to get a win here. We are 8-3 on the season so far. Hopefully we will be 9-3, or we're going to be 8-4. Again, hopeful that we are on the good side of the coin there. And this Liberty team, not a joke right now. They've won 6 in a row, 7-4 overall record. But one thing to note, they have yet to win a game on the road. They are 0-3 so far.
Right, and we all know what kind of environment Clark LeClaire Stadium can be when it's full. I don't know how full it'll be on a midweek game, but you can figure it'll draw 3,000-plus fans. And you really get them going. Maybe ECU can get off to a quick start like they have so many times this season already and just maybe get a good quality win over Liberty. We don't know who the starter will be yet for ECU. That'll probably be announced either later on Tuesday or maybe early Wednesday. Figure it might be Elijah Gill again or somebody new we haven't seen so far this year in the starter's role. So just be a good win if they can get it, but keep the momentum going into the weekend hopefully.
Yeah, I say even despite all the pitching and everything, I think the Pirates will have a great game offensively, and I think they need that. They really had a great game against High Point, and I feel like they're going to continue that hot streak going into this game with the offense exploding, and I feel like that's really going to push them to the game, along with the home crowd as well.
I think the fact that Liberty hasn't won a game on the road yet is fairly telling, and I think it being a midweek game, that's a different kind of environment than going into a weekend series where you're going to be there for a while, because these midweek games, you just kind of got to get there and then you get out, and that's a completely different feeling for these guys, and I think ECU is going to be able to take advantage of that.
So while we're talking about this midweek matchup, let's do a little prediction time. As for the game against Liberty here, I have a win tomorrow. What do we have?
I'll go with a win as well.
Yeah, I definitely go with a win.
ECU's going to take that dub.
4 wins across the board here against the Liberty Flames right here at Clark LeClaire Stadium. Again, be sure to tune in and come out, support the Pirates here at the ballpark. Now looking ahead to the weekend matchup, 3 games, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, against the Charlotte 49ers, not here, but at Charlotte. It's going to be a homecoming party for Alec Burleson, Lane Hoover, and Jay Kuchmaner, all from the Charlotte area. It should be real good. This 49ers team 8-4 overall and 8-2 at home. They've had a lot of games at home so far, and they've done pretty well, but again, I'm hopeful that we can get 2 out of 3 here against the 49ers. What are we thinking?
Yeah, be the first time ECU goes on the road for a weekend series this season. They're 1-1 on the road right now, lost to Campbell First road game, didn't look too good that game, but bounced back against Elon midweek on the road the next week. So it'll just be the tell of what ECU team can show up for the weekend. But, as Meatloaf said, 2 of 3 ain't bad. So I believe if they can do 2 of 3, be good momentum.
Yeah, also, Charlotte is 8-2 at home in the season and 0-2 on the road. So, I mean, they're definitely a better team at home, as it says. But one thing, too, is, I feel like the home crowd won't really play too much on it, as UNC Charlotte is on spring break right now. So on the Friday game, it won't be that crowded, maybe not even on the Saturday one either. And I think it will be good to see some of the guys going back to their homes and playing games for them. That'll, boost their confidence. But I really think the bats will cool off in the High Point game, and as I'm predicting in the Liberty game. But I still feel confident, and maybe not totally sweep, but at least 2 out of 3.
I feel like this is going to be ECU's first real road test, their first full road series that they got this season, and they're a young team, so it's going to be really telling with how they are able to go into this series and see what they can come out with, and hopefully they'll be able to do well.
One thing to note here, not 100% sure on the weekend rotation either. As we saw the other day, Gavin Williams came in and closed out the game against High Point. You wonder if he maybe slots into the weekend rotation.
Yeah, he touched 96. It looked like he had never left, and I know Coach Godwin said that they'd been easing him back in on the side as his finger healed from a preseason injury there. But, yeah, looked really good, dropped in a couple breaking balls, struck out his first batter, and then got a game-ending double play there. But I think it might be a little premature to think that he could start a game. I think it'd be more likely we see him out of the bullpen this weekend as he continues to work back.
Yeah, I don't see him starting. I think they're going to stick with the normal rotation with Burleson on Friday, then Smith and Kuchmaner. And Kuchmaner's been pretty high, and Smith and Burleson. Burleson had an off game, but I think you want to help Burleson's confidence come back. So I don't really see any major changes, but it is a promising sign, definitely going into the season.
The most important thing they can do is let him heal up and not rush anything. The worst thing you can do to any player in any sport is rush them back too quickly from an injury, and hopefully he'll be able to get back into the field of things, adjust, over the next few weeks or so, and then we'll see him, get that starting role back and see them be able to properly make adjustments to the rotation.
Right, and, it's not a bad thing to have him in the bullpen either as a bullpen weapon, because he is a legitimate weapon out of the bullpen, and our bullpen already is very, very deep, so it's just another guy to kind of slot in there for sure. So across the board, I have a 2 out of 3 victorious win here against Charlotte. How do we feel prediction time?
I'll go 2 of 3 as well.
I'm going to go really optimistic and go a sweep on the weekend.
All right.
I guess I'm going to be the Debbie Downer, and I'm going to say they go 1-2.
The reason for you saying they go 1-2 is what?
Going back to the fact that they are a very young team, they have been, though very small sample size, they have been inconsistent in their games on the road. Also the fact that, we have Liberty in the middle of the week, and then they immediately essentially have to jump into a weekend series. So I feel like, going on the road there in their first real road test, I don't know if the young guys are really going to be able to step up. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know. I just got a bad feeling for this weekend.
It definitely for sure is a big-time road test. We will find out then. As you guys may notice, the goatee going on here. We are into March now, and this is Mustache March, so you can go ahead and support the Pirates here as we strike out ALS. Grow out the mustache. I'm not sure if any of you guys can participate with that, but for the folks at home, be sure to do that. So with all of that being said, that is concluding our 4th edition here of TECspertZ, our sports recap with ECU Baseball. Be sure to tune in next time. Thank you, everybody.